A stone box between the graves. A horrifying encounter. The first scream came from the cemetery, and it came before anyone noticed the storm. At exactly 2:17 a.m., Daniel Harper slammed his car door shut and stared at the iron gates of Black Hollow Cemetery. The fog was thick, crawling low across the ground like something alive. He had told himself 100 times not to come here. Every local knew the stories. Every sane person avoided this place after sunset. But desperation has a way of killing common sense. Daniel checked his phone. No signal. Of course not. Somewhere deep inside the graveyard, something scraped against stone. He froze. The sound came again. Slow, deliberate, like fingernails dragging across granite. Daniel swallowed hard. His heart began to pound, fast and uneven. He told himself it was an animal. A raccoon. A fox. Anything normal. Anything alive. Then he heard a whisper. "Don't look inside." Daniel's breath caught. The voice wasn't loud. It wasn't even clear. But it was close. Too close. 3 minutes earlier, he had still believed this was a bad idea. Now, he was certain. He should have run. Instead, he stepped through the gates. The cemetery was old, older than the town itself. Headstones leaned at unnatural angles, cracked and sinking into the earth as if the ground was slowly swallowing them. Names had been erased by time, but the dates remained. Most ended the same way. No year after burial. Daniel forced himself to walk deeper, his flashlight cutting thin paths through the fog. His grandfather's journal was clenched tightly in his hand. The last page had been written the night before the old man died. "There is a stone box between the graves. It is not a coffin. Do not open it. If you hear it calling your name, it already knows you." Daniel stopped walking. Between two ancient graves, barely visible beneath vines and dirt, sat a rectangular stone box. It wasn't buried. It wasn't marked. And it was breathing. The lid trembled, rising a fraction of an inch before settling back down. Dust fell from its edges. The scraping sound returned. Slow, patient. Daniel backed away. Then the box spoke. Daniel. His knees nearly gave out. The voice was his mother's. She had died 10 years ago. "Danny," it said softly, "I'm cold." Tears burned his eyes. His flashlight flickered. Memories flooded his mind. Hospital lights, flat monitors, her final smile. He shook his head violently. "No," he whispered. "You're not real." The box laughed. The sound was wrong. Too many voices layered together. Men, women, children, all laughing at slightly different speeds. "Everyone says that," the box replied. "Before they open me." Daniel turned to run. The gates were gone. The cemetery stretched endlessly in every direction now, rows of graves repeating like a nightmare maze. The fog thickened, pressing against his skin, crawling into his lungs. His flashlight died completely. Darkness swallowed him. Something cold wrapped around his ankle. Daniel screamed as he fell, slamming face first into the dirt. Pale hands burst from the ground around him, clawing, grasping, pulling. Fingernails black and broken. Skin stretched tight over bone. "Stay," they whispered. "Stay with us." He kicked free and scrambled to his feet, sprinting blindly until he crashed into something solid. The stone box. It was open. Inside wasn't emptiness. Inside was a staircase. Stone steps descended into a darkness so deep it seemed to swallow the light itself. A foul wind rushed upward, carrying the smell of rot, iron, and something ancient. "You came," said a new voice behind him. Daniel turned slowly. A man stood there, tall, thin, wearing funeral black clothes that looked centuries old. His face was pale, his eyes sunken, his smile too wide. "The box chooses the broken," the man said. "The curious. The grieving. What is this place?" Daniel demanded, his voice shaking. The man gestured to the open box. "A door. A hunger." From below the stairs came a chorus of whispers, growing louder, more excited. "Names. His name. You can leave," the man continued calmly. "But someone must take your place." The hands erupted from the ground again, dragging bodies upward, half-formed shapes with hollow eyes and screaming mouths. Daniel recognized faces from old photographs. Missing people. Unsolved cases. His grandfather. "Daniel." His grandfather cried. "Don't let it take you." The man's smile faded. "Choose." The whispers turned into screams. Daniel made his choice. He grabbed his grandfather's journal, ripped out the final page, and hurled it into the box. The paper ignited midair, bursting into unnatural black flames. The staircase shook violently. The stone box began to crack. "No!" the man shouted, his form twisting, skin splitting like wet paper. "You don't understand what you're doing." The cemetery screamed. Graves collapsed inward. The fog burned away in blinding white light. Daniel felt himself thrown backward, his body slamming into cold metal. He woke up in his car. The gates of Black Hollow Cemetery stood closed and rusted, vines untouched. Dawn painted the sky soft pink. His phone buzzed with notifications. Full signal. For a moment, Daniel thought it had all been a dream. Then he noticed the dirt under his fingernails. And the stone fragment on his passenger seat. Carved into it were words that hadn't been there before. "The box is never empty." That night, as Daniel lay awake in bed, he heard scraping beneath his floor. Slow, patient, waiting. And from somewhere deep below, a familiar voice whispered his name.